Welcome to the Karuna Life. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gina Kitzmiller. I am an author, an intuitive, I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I am founder of Trimatri Reiki. And today I'm very excited because I have two special guests with me. So today I have with me Zacciah Blackburn and Dorothy Stone, and they are from Sunreed Instruments and Sunreed Center. And I was explaining to them beforehand that I actually came upon them a few years ago because I was looking for equipment for sound healing. And I stumbled upon this wonderful resource of not only information, but sound healing instruments and equipment. And they were so kind and helpful that that has been my go to. And I laugh that I sometimes get lost on your website because I love to listen to all the instruments and I can lose like 2 hours just going through and listening to
Oh,
tuning forks and the different bowls. And so it's just such a really beautiful site. And I'm really
mm.
excited to get to talk to both of you today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Gina.
Thank you. We really appreciate it and the kindness that you share with us. And we love to offer as much as we can through the site. We're actually upgrading the Sunreed Instrument site right now. We're moving to a new platform, and it's going to be even more fun and easy to navigate and joyous for folks. But we love to provide the sound files so people can hear. And as you're doing, we highly recommend listening to headphones. So we just transformed Sunreed Center as our educational platform, and we're doing the same thing with Sunreed Instruments now.
Oh my goodness. So it sounds like you're doing some expansion, which is lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really trying to reach out to as many people as possible, people at all levels who are coming just to enhance their own personal experience, or professionals that are wanting to integrate sound therapeutically. And we're really focusing on um, the practice, intentional practice, and how people can bring sound instruments into their daily lives.
I like that. I think that they're going to continue to grow. And I think more and more people are really interested in sound healing, both personally and professionally. So let me ask you, when you say that sound is an elemental force of creation, how do you experience that in the real world in practice?
Well, for me, it's always been from the first sound. And I could do that with the drum right now, just to tell you how the experience is for me personally. So I just want to check with Max if that's good, and he's giving me a total thumbs up. So if each of you listening would, just go into the voice of the drum itself. For me, when I sound the drum, I'm literally creating a field of sound. It's resonating throughout the room. And so in my listening sense, what I really think of as my more refined sense, I start going into a very refined sense of awareness, just listening, just deep listening, resting within that, deeper listening, resting within that. And the sound, whatever instrument I'm using, the sound just brings me of its own nature into a state of beauty, of care, of appreciation. So many different aspects of that. Though if I was just starting this journey, it might bring me to something I haven't fulfilled yet in my life or haven't fully felt yet, perhaps grief from some loss that I haven't felt. And the sound will help bring me into my emotional states. It tends to be more of a state of clarity now, but just the resonance of the drum and that field of sound informs me of something more vibrational in nature, something more fundamental in nature. And with the sound, with the nature of sound itself, we call it an elemental force because that's what it is. And in Western culture, if we were to think of the elements, we either think of the elemental chart of minerals and whatnot, or we think of the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water. In many, if not most cultures of the world, that includes space, the center point of spaciousness from which all life arises. This is fundamental to the nature of understanding the cosmos according to most cultures of the world. And within that place of arising, there is sound, a resonance, which is life force that rises through all things, It's what makes us rise and thrive. It's a fundamental force of creation. And light, or luminosity. And these two forms of sound and light, or life force and consciousness, in almost all cultures are woven together as the fundamental nature of creation. In the beginning there was darkness, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Many cultures have that same story in their own version of how creator beings came forward and merged their voice with their thoughts or intentions and created. So all of this is happening for me when I begin any sound, whether it's a drum, a rattle, a crystal bore, or more. And I know that may be more than some of your listeners might understand with sound, but it's just about stepping back and listening to the sound as it arises and collaborating with it, letting yourself become an ally with the sound, and the sound or the instrument become an ally with you.
I love that. It's such a beautiful drum too. When you were talking and as I was listening, I find that it really brings you immediately into that present moment, right? And I think for so many of us, we have a lot of mental chatter. It's very loud and it just kind of everything feels like it comes into the center and like
Oh,
quiets and you drop into that deeper knowing. Would you agree with that, Dorothy?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's a bear drum, incidentally. Um, so yeah, speaking to the challenges that we have in our Western culture, especially, so many are, really spend most of their lives, a lot of their time in their heads, right? And so many people are experiencing stress or anxiety and are really hungry for ways that can bring them a sense of peace, right? A
Mhm.
sense of harmony, a sense of balance. And I love to kind of use, when I think about sound, I like to use this like computer analogy where, um, resonance is like the language of the universe, right? And we're all really seeking more resonance or more harmonious resonance within our lives, within our practices, and how can we open more and more fully to light and resonance. So that's like using intention and awareness, which we talk about constantly a lot, a lot. Intention and awareness are the driving forces that allow us to really connect with higher level consciousness. So, um, with the a resonance and light being like these are like our passwords, right? So sound is like pressing enter, right? You hear the frequency and it's going to take you someplace. It's going to allow you to step out of your mind, turn on the sympathetic nervous system, really allow yourself to become more regulated in a internal chemical sense. It's incredibly powerful and can be so, so simple. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It doesn't have to be immensely complicated. And we're all individuals and all drawn to different frequencies. Some people may say, "Oh, I love the sound of a crystal ball." And some may say, "Oh, I love the Tibetan bowls. They're very multitonal. Oh, I want to go in that direction." Or I'm really connected to a drum. There's something about a drum that makes me feel as if I have some ancient experience. Somehow I'm viscerally connected to the sound of a drum. It's very powerful for me. So all of these things can be really keys to greater awakening. And with that brings the questions that we always ask about, who are you and why are you here? And let's explore that territory. So, the very simple practices that can be incorporated into your life or into your professional therapeutic life very, very simply. I was a body worker and I started out with one 12-inch sea bowl, crystal bowl that I put underneath my massage table. And at the end of the session, I would start playing that bowl and could see how people responded. You know that from a physics perspective, we're all space, right? We're 99.99 whatever percent space. And sound moves through us, right? Sound moves through us. So it's a powerful it's a powerful thing that we have and we can experience.
I
And
love
if I
that.
might, Gina,
Yes.
from drawing from both of your conversations, you're speaking about the state of presence that sound brings. This is one of the fundamental principles of sound, as in sound healing versus music. We all have music that we love and we've grown to and we dance to and thrive on. But we also tend to have a musical language. We're called to a particular style of music. We love that song and the lyrics. And it actually engages the mind in a different way than simple sound that doesn't have necessarily a melody, a spoken path to it. And just taking any simple sound, we were speaking about your elephant bells a little while ago, and this is a simple Tibetan bell, and just listen to the sound and be with it just for a moment. I would ask all of the listeners to also, and if you have headphones, it's always better online to put on those headphones because you hear the full spectrum of sound that you might not, and all of those nuances that take you and carry you. What happens when you listen to this bell? Just be with it a moment. We all hear sound differently, and that's important in this conversation. But for me, this really brings a place of clarity and coherence. In the mystical understanding of the bell in Tibet, this is the nature of the great feminine, the voice of the feminine, and it opens to vast open spaciousness from which all life arises. So this can bring us to that state, and it's used explicitly in that way. But using the word presence, the sound, each sound, it just tends to bring us into a state of presence. And then, depending on who we are and where we are, if we go into that state of presence, it might bring up what I mentioned before, that emotional state just waiting to resolve. And are we ready now to face it, to walk through it, to open and receive and gift ourselves with a state of healing through resolving something we've been holding on to and not giving us space to do the process? The sound can bring us into that state of presence. And neurologically, it enhances that state of the sympathetic parasympathetic balance, that wants to activate and rest. And we know that in balance, it creates a state of homeostasis. And there are medical doctors working with sound on this very principle, because when we enter that relaxed state of homeostasis, just that center point of balance, of presence, then the body can do its own natural healing. So that's an engaging power of just simple sound, simple rhythm of a drum, simple playing of a crystal ball or a Tibetan ball, a tuning fork, but even a Tibetan bell. And we do extraordinary practices because of that, using the quality of the sound of the instrument as an ally to enhance our practice, just coming into presence, and then what unfolds from there, and allowing the mystery of life to move through us and touch us in whatever way it may, just with a simple sound.
I love what you just said about the ally in practice because when I think of the instruments that are my personal instruments, they're my partners, you know, and I've built relationship with those instruments. So when you get a new instrument, you want to really learn. You want to introduce yourself. You want to learn as much as you can about the different qualities of sound and different frequencies that that instrument can provide you.
I like that.
Thank
I
you so
agree with
much.
that. Thank you both. I think that when I've gotten my bowls, I hug them, I kind of just sit with them, and I get excited to get new instruments. I love tuning forks. I find they're incredibly powerful in working with clients. I often will go into the field with tuning forks and work in the
Mm-hmm.
auric field. And what I find is it does help to pull up anything that I call kind of sticky or dissonant energy and
Mm-hmm.
then help to move it, to transmute it. For people
Absolutely.
who are so let's say, for example, I was thinking, because I know some people, a lot of us have trouble when emotions come up. So what advice do you have if someone is using a sound healing instrument and maybe some grief like really starts to come up for them? What would you suggest that they do in that moment?
Mm.
What I recommend is just to be with it, just to trust yourself. In my understanding from one of my earliest teachers, it was fundamentally the understanding that if it comes into your life, you're ready to meet it. You have the power to meet it. So just trusting in that, even if you're not quite sure of what I just said, and that grief arises, just be with it. Maybe let it be over here for a moment, not so close, but just, try to create a relationship with it. I used to do very deep dream work, and this was the principle that came up with the dream, you would create a conversation with it as if it was another entity. So it's just not necessarily in that way, but well, hello, grief. I remember you. I know you're there just waiting. Let's see what we can do here. And if you're using sound, then let the sound help to move. Sound is moving energy. Let it help you move energy. Emotion means literally to move out. And the problem with this motion is when we hold in, when we bind it, and we don't meet it and allow the movement. And the reality is that by allowing it to move, the sound can be an ally to help us, ring the bowl, let it move the sound, couple it in your own mind, however you interpret that. Couple the emotion with the sound and just let it radiate out in the room. Give it life, give it the ability to move, and let go. That's another quality of sound because it's just resonating out in a wave field. So give it to the sound, let it go. And there's the strike again. Just let it go. Here's another wave of grief arising. Oh my God, I can't believe it's this deep. Give it life, allow it to be, and let it go. And each step you take, and breath is a powerful ally in this also, breathing into it. Each step, each breath you take gives you more strength and courage to move through that emotion. Indeed, I like to say that the courage to move through that emotion is in the emotion itself.
Mm.
So that grief, that fear, whatever it is, just taking one step, just close to the boundary where you can feel it, going, well, okay, I'm okay with that, and take another step, and soon you're into the inner dynamic of it, and just let it move. If it's grief, yeah, maybe you're going to cry a lot. Let it be so. Let it move. Allow it to happen.
Oh, that's so important too. And I think so many of us weren't really taught that or shown that when we were younger. We were taught stuff down. At least I was in my household. It was kind of emotion was very uncomfortable. And I still carry that with me a little bit that I have to try to work
Absolutely.
through that. But I have found that too, and especially with grief, like when you can sit with something. What I found is often the emotion, and grief's a great example, is it actually when I would sit with it and start peeling it back and say, okay, this is grief. Let's just sit with it would start to kind of shift and morph, and sometimes it would go into something maybe different, right? Maybe there was like a fear underneath that. And so it was really interesting as I've gone through the grief process, as we all do through life, about how when I could sit with that emotion and really just be with it, how it can shift and change. And then that's where I felt like I could start to really move through it. And it's incredibly powerful. But sound, I think it's just I
Mm.
think ally is a great term for it. It can really help with that process.
Think
Yeah.
about sitting by a stream or a surf and the movement of that and give it away to the water. The sound is the same, but literally sitting by a stream or surf to give it away is a beautiful ally as well. I'm sorry, you started to say something.
Well, I love to use the word dissolve,
Mm.
right? And I think that if we can allow ourselves to be generous
Mhm.
to that dissolution process, right? Um, because I think, especially in our culture, we hold, so tightly. We hold so tightly, and it generates fear, right? In that if you're not used to opening and expanding and letting go. I've worked with a lot of sound immersions, and you have a lot of people that are, and you've created a field, you've created a sacred space, and people are feeling safe in a space where they can allow themselves to just dissolve into that space. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful way to practice and to really facilitate our own healing process.
Beautifully spoken. Thank you.
Yes, I love that word. There's such a softness to it that just when you would say dissolve, you feel this softening and rather than it
Yeah,
takes a lot of energy to be very, rigid and I'm withholding or trying to
yeah.
push down. And just when you were talking about that, I felt like my shoulders relax and it just felt very soft and yet
Mm.
powerful.
So I just want to follow up and say that, in what you're hearing in that word, it's important for us to remember that our voices, how we speak, our voices are instruments in themselves, right? The sound of our voice, the frequency that our voice carries, the energetic qualities that we are aligning, attuning, and attenuating to, that we are emanating, right? So that's all going into the morphogenic field, right? That's the sea that we live in, this living field of energy, and how important and powerful it is to gain that understanding, to know that what we bring forward really from our hearts, from a very heart-centered space, can be felt by others.
And has impact. The Dalai Lama talks about how impactful our thoughts and feelings, our intentions are beyond our understanding or belief. But I was going right there with you, Gina. I responded deeply to Dorothy's voice. I just settled in, and I like to think of her voice as the voice of the great feminine. She really brings that heart of compassion and wisdom forward, and you can hear it in her tone. And as she said, the voice is our first instrument, and it brings so much information. Sound carries energy and information. That's pure science. Astrophysicists are telling us now that the sounds of stars give them more information about the nature of stars than all of the other components they've been studying for centuries. Light, X-ray, radio, all the electromagnetic frequencies. Sound gives them more information than all of those frequencies combined. That's pure astrophysics. Our voice is providing us a lot of information. Listening to the tone of others will tell you a lot, but then how are you speaking? What emotion are you holding? What state of clarity or coherence can you bring forward to further the betterment of the world, for instance?
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
The two questions that we often bring forward in classes and instruction with students, how does the sound inform you? What are you learning from the sound? How do you inform the sound, right? So there's this
Yes.
reciprocity,
Yeah.
this relationship with the frequency itself.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. And I just think that it shows the depth of it. When you're talking about presence and intention, to be able to be with it and to really the depth of understanding and learning how it unfolds for each student, I would imagine is pretty beautiful to
Mm,
witness. So
yeah.
I love that. So when we talk often about sound, I know oftentimes it gets linked in with like ancestral healing. So would you guys agree that that is linked in with the ancestral healing? And how is that linked in when we talk about sound healing or the power of sound?
Well, personally, when you use that word ancestor, it means more for me than it seems to mean for a large number of people. When I hear the word ancestor, the first thing that comes to mind is not my genetic lineage, it's my spiritual lineage. And those that are known as the great ancestors, those who have come before with wisdom from all cultures. And what part of that are we? Where have we come from? This isn't our first lifetime journey here. We are the ancestors ourselves. In fact, I'm thinking of one of the Hopi elders who says we are the ones we've been waiting for. What does he mean by that? Why are we giving up that responsibility, that right, that authority to others, waiting on others to come forward with the truth and the true, authentic way of being? Or are we doing it ourselves? We are those we've been waiting for. And we are part of that great body of the voice of the ancient ones who have been here many times before and bring the wisdom, truth, the embodiment of authenticity with them. Are we living in that way? Are we meeting our own potential? And how can we do so? So when I think about sound and that lineage, then am I standing upright within myself in a place of integrity and wholeness? And what can I bring forward from that place? And that's my own body of work. But if I'm thinking about genetic lineage, then yes, we carry all kinds of obtrusions from other lifetimes of our family lineage. And just in this body, well, for the egg that became me in my mother's utero formed fully in her mother's utero. So there's two lineages of ancestors right there that I have attuned to, whether it's just through the resonance, the emotional lineup. What am I hearing while I'm in utero, and what was she hearing? What was she feeling? What was pumping through her blood? And that's before we even get to DNA, and how we now know that thought and consciousness affects DNA and sound affects DNA. So did I come from a family, a background of loving, generous people? Was I raised in a place of trauma or ingenuity, a place of not being able to speak my truth? Entrainment is a key word, and I'd love to demonstrate something about it, but I'd like to give you both more time to speak.
No, that's wonderful. And I love that when you say ancestors, you and I are on the same page because I tend to think of the ancestors, right? I don't think of my lineage first and foremost, although I
Right.
work with my lineage, we all have what we carry from our ancestors, but I always think the ancestors. And
Mhm.
I
Okay.
think there's a lot of ancient wisdom that is now kind of we're remembering and we're tapping into. And I think sound healing very much ties in with that ancestral wisdom that they knew how to work with sound, they knew the presence and to work with it, and I think that we're starting to tap back into some of those very
Mhm.
deep knowing around sound healing.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I want to give Dorothy time, but I have more I could share there.
Zacciah can talk for days. Video days and days, Gina.
No, I love
um,
it.
yeah. Um, in thinking about ancestral healing and our spiritual lineage, speaking as a woman and speaking as a woman in our Western culture, I believe that many women have challenges with voice, with the throat chakra, with speaking their truth. And there's a lot of healing that's taken place related to that, and there is a lot more that can happen in that regard. As I think that the beautiful thing about sound, whether it's in personal practice or whether it's in a group situation where a collective field of sound is created, there is potential there. There is very potent potential that allows for one to not only bring forward but step into wholeness, step into harmony, balance, peace, grace, all of those things that we really want to get our arms around it all. How much can we hold? How much can we expand? How much can we come from a heart of compassion so that we can understand that we are only human? We've all had experiences in our lives that are challenging, right? And we can move beyond that. And how do we move beyond that? Individually and collectively. So, this pathway that this pathway that can open, right? That can facilitate this human evolution, right? We are experiencing massive changes. And I really believe that it has to come from within, you know. It has to really come from within. We have to be committed to take responsibility to do our own individual work and support those that we love and many, many others that are on a similar path, and just really embrace that heart of compassion in the process, because it's a rocky road right now.
It's
And
it
So,
certainly is. Yes,
yeah.
I was just saying on another episode about how my guides have said that we've all planned for this time. We all were aware of it, that no one got dropped here without knowing that this is the life that you're incarnating at this time. And I will say that my spirit guides often talk about the power of sound. They also talk about the throat chakra and how charged it is, especially from past lives where we may not have been able to speak our truth, or we don't feel that we're able to. And I do find that in working with clients, that's probably I always say that's the chakra that most often there's something that needs to be addressed. And it's either I don't feel like I'm able to speak my truth, or I've spoken my truth and I don't feel like it's being received. And so I don't feel like it's being validated. But there's just so
Mhm.
much energy and charge around that chakra that I believe sound can be incredibly healing and helpful for it as well.
Mhm.
trauma victims especially have issues around the throat where they're threatened with physical danger for them or their family if they speak the truth. There's just so much around what you just said. But if I could, I'd love to go back to the question on ancestral wisdom and sound. I've been with elders of multiple lineages, multiple traditions, who literally are the carrier of the prophecies of their tradition, who have been charged with bringing forward that prophecy. And over throughout the Americas, throughout Asia, through many cultures, we are literally in a time that's been prophesied for hundreds to thousands of years as a time of great awakening. I love to speak of the wisdom around this from the Q'ero tradition of the high Andes. They're a culture that was lost to modern civilization because once the Spanish conquered, they just knew better and went to the high alto plains and weren't rediscovered until the 1950s. And I've been initiated by some of their teachers and elders. And they have a way of speaking to this time as the Torpe Pacha, the time of meeting ourselves again. And I just love that phrase, but then it brings the question, well, what part of ourself have we not yet met? And how can we open to that? And they have ways of working with their spiritual ancestors, their genetic ancestors, the elements of the earth herself, the sky, and the great cosmos. They have ways of aligning with, anointing oneself with each of these elements of nature, of creation, of the greater self, to awaken one's true nature, one's potential, the enlightened self, which in their world is held in a seed right here in the body, fundamentally the same place that the heart is held in yoga, for instance. It's used as a point of tremendous energy in many cultures. And they speak to this time as a period of great transformation, that when enough of us come into a living relationship with the living earth and sky, with all dimensions of reality fundamentally, the nature of life itself, when enough of us come into that living relationship, it will be the catalyst that awakens humanity collectively. And we are in that time. This is the time they speak of, the Kogi of Colombia, the Navajo, the Hopi, the Cherokee, grandfather Commanda of the great elder of all North America before he passed, carrying the Seven Fires prophecy belt. So many have carried and brought forward the prophecies and anointed us with this time to come forward with the wisdom and speak our truth. And that's before we even get to those spirit guides who are working with each of us right now, whether we realize it or not, those around us that we might tune into, and sound can help us come into that present state to deepen our listening skill, to be fully present and learn to trust what we hear within ourselves, that state of inner knowing, To know, Daniel Webster, Webster's Dictionary, to know is that which is directly perceived. Are we trusting our perception, or do we need to think that it comes from authorities outside of ourselves? Trusting our own knowing, our own listening, that teaches us which instrument's going to work for us by listening and trusting. And I know I've said a lot, but I'm going to go one step further because of the sound. And I'm going to pick up one of my favorite rattles. And it comes from a dear friend who was taught by Cherokee grandmothers. And they taught her that this round pouch is the womb of life. This is holding the seed of creation. This is like the mother of life. And this is the phallus, the masculine principle, that when they unite, when a sound is made, you're literally entering into the nature of creation. This is an act of creation. So then I, who hold the rattle, knowing that wisdom, how do I then choose to use the rattle and the sound coming from it and or my voice? Every sound is creating a seed of creation. So what is it that I'm wanting to create? And all of the listeners could come into that for a moment. What would I like to create in this world? And how can I seed that into being? This is true with the drum, crystal bowl, Tibetan bowl, a gong, a tuning fork. It's all the same principle. When you ignite sound with the light from within, when you join forces of your own consciousness with the sound you're creating, and coming back to the ancestors, I can tell you, when those elders are singing, they don't teach you the how-tos. You have to be with them long enough for it to transmit to you that you gain direct experience. But when those elders are singing with that rattle, they're connecting to the sky beings, they're connecting to their allies, whomever they are of earth and sky, and they're calling them forward to ally with them as they begin their song for healing the planet, for healing each other, for bringing forward the wisdom of their tradition from their own hearts, in their own ways. And I'm thinking of Grandfather Joseph of the Lumia, who taught me that those spirit songs that come directly from the voice of spirit are the most powerful of all, and to trust in them.
I don't even want to talk after that. I just would like to sit in that. That
Well,
was.
just look at the light pouring through your window.
I knew. I did think that as well.
There you are.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. I have to even collect myself. I could have just sat. So I know you said you were going to potentially do a practice, just a short sound healing, and I want to pay attention to time. But for people who are watching, you guys do have some new offerings. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about that. And then I thought then we could maybe go into some sound healing practices if you'd like to share. And then we'll just kind of quietly fade out without me coming back on. Because once I get into that state, I'm the same way. I just want to sit.
Could I just ask if Dorothy had something else she wanted to share?
Yes,
Because I
please.
was speaking a good deal there. Okay.
I am good.
Okay.
I'm excited about offering a spaciousness practice for you all.
Good, good. And I will make sure that I put links in the show notes to all of your offerings and so that people know where to find you. But before we go to that, I just want to note that I know you guys have the new online training for sound healing. And I don't know if you're still doing it, but you were offering where you could get kind of a sneak peek into it.
Yes.
There's a
And
preview. Yeah.
yes, and I did that, and what I loved was that you both were at your kitchen table, and I felt like I was in your kitchen with you, and there's this beautiful background, and you both were just distilling such wisdom, and I, like, had a notebook, and I was jotting things down, and what really struck me was, how accessible it was, but also the depth of it. It really felt like it was more than just like learning how to use an instrument. It's like really this philosophy, this wisdom, this knowledge that really goes beyond like what we might think of just like the how to's of sound healing. So it's very amazing. So I'm sure you're both very proud of it, but I was really pleased with it when I was looking at
Would
it.
you like us to speak to that just for a moment?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
our primary program on sound healing is now called the Foundations of Sound Healing. We've actually used that title for a number of years. If we go back pre-COVID, we offered up to 3 years of training, up to 24 days a year for 3 years for people to really come into full facilitation as a sound healer or therapist, or to integrate it in their own therapy practice, or just for their own private expansion. And we have an extraordinary collaborator, actually several in Canada now, come from the Corp area of Canada, somewhat near Ottawa. And Chris Korpinski is our primary collaborator. She has been with us in pretty much every program for 10 to 15 years. And she's been our moderator on every online program since COVID. We went fully online because of that. And we condensed our sound healing training into 3 or 4 day programs just to make it more available to people. And she's taken all of that material from all of the years she's been working with us and created the Foundations program, which is over 150 hours of condensed material, written script, audio, video, journaling for yourself to really deepen your own understanding and practice. And then when that's done, then we're also just beginning quarterly meetings where people who have taken the training can come and work with us. And we have a live retreat every August called Emissaries of Sound that deepen the work even more. So all of that's available online. The website for our educational material is sunreedcenter.com, sunreedcenter.com. And we appreciate you giving us that moment. But it is in-depth work. We've been doing this. I began in the 1970s and have been devoted full-time, starting as a flute maker and growing into world music, world instruments. Until sound healing was born in the U.S., I worked with the first woman known as the grandmother of sound healing, Sarah Benson, in the U.S., and have been doing that work ever since. So it's the full spectrum. Dorothy's been working with sound for at least 20 years, and just really, as you see, is full spectrum with it also.
Well, thank you both. And I can really, the depth and wisdom that you both bring to this is just really amazing. And I'm just very honored to have spent this time with both of you today.
Well,
So
thank you.
Great. Well,
thank
It's
you.
been a
thank you
joy
so
working with
much.
you here. Yeah.
Okay. So would you like to kind of take us out? However long you would
Yeah.
like to would be wonderful.
And to just let you know what we're going to be using as our partners in sound today, we have two 14-inch bowls here. It's a binaural set of bowls, so it's taking two frequencies that are very closely aligned that create a third kind of oscillating sound. The binaural stimulation really allows your brain to really let go,
Mm-hmm.
disconnect, deepen. Yeah.
It's one of the powers of sound. It tends to move our listening from the frontal lobes back into the occipital region of the brain. It's more spatially oriented. It gives us a deeper state of approaching that state of homeostasis. It is so beneficial for us. But it also it's kind of like a dream state. So it brings us into the potential of vision or emotional release and so forth. And I want to suggest to the listeners, just listen to the sound, be with it. You'll hear this very interesting wave pattern that arises, and you can allow that, just be with it. It can just move energy, just let it be so. But we're going to talk you through a simple practice from Tibetan studies, this just known as spaciousness. I've mentioned how within Tibet that spaciousness is considered the nature of the great mother, that from which all things arise. So using it as a catalyst to go into a deeper place of listening and connecting is very beautiful, very simple. The practice is just to move your awareness into the heart center, deep in the center of the chest. If you are a more rational listener, you can come to the third eye behind the bridge of the nose, but I'm going to speak to the heart, just bringing your awareness into the heart. You can use your breath to help guide you. Just draw the breath in, let it go, draw it in, and let it go. And with every breath, draw it deeper and deeper into that place in the center of the heart we call the heart center. And imagine or feel a state of open spaciousness. If you have difficulty feeling space, you can think of a time that you experienced it high on a mountaintop with the broad horizon, beside the ocean just stretching out across the waters. In a farmer's field at night, laying there with the clear sky, the stars twinkling down, and just breathe out into that open space. Using something like this to feel into an inner state of open spaciousness within the heart. Any other thoughts or feelings that arise, just give them away to the waves of sound, to that open space. Breathing in to the innate state of spaciousness within, letting go on the out-breath, breathing out into the vast open space around you. As you complete this cycle, then breathe in from that vast open space into the space within, breathing back out into that vast open space. Any other thoughts or feelings that arise, just let them go. Be present for just this moment. Open spaciousness. In a sacred way, we make this offering. Many blessings to all those listening. May you receive the presence of your highest essence and being, to learn to grow and fully embody that which you truly are in a sacred way. We ask that it may be so. Oh.
And so it is. Namaste.
Namaste. May any merit generated by this practice be given to those most in need. In a sacred way we ask. And so it is.